There are a lot of misconceptions about GMOs and their dangers. But are GMOs truly as dangerous as some believe? What are the true facts of GMOs, and how can GMOs impact a variety of areas? I'm Kira Hamill, the Science Mammal, and in this video, we're exploring the science of GMOs. So what exactly are GMOs? Well, they're living organisms whose DNA has been changed in a lab through genetic engineering. Some of the most commonly modified organisms include cotton, corn, wheat, and rice. There are a few different methods that have been used to create GMOs over the years. Throughout the 1950s to 1970s, chemical tools were developed that allowed scientists to cut and duplicate specific pieces of DNA. Then, in 1977, a germ called Agrobacterium tumefaciens was discovered, which could be used to put genes into the DNA of plants. Over the years, there have also been some experimental methods of creating GMOs. One such method is the gene gun, which shoots tiny bullets painted with DNA into the cells of the organism being modified. Though it is a lot of work to develop the technology to create GMOs, there are a number of reasons to favor GMOs over traditional plants. Certain GMO plants can tolerate more pesticide, make their own pesticide, grow in especially dry or salty places, or make medicines or extra vitamins. For these reasons, GMOs are quite useful for agricultural purposes. In fact, more than 80% of altered crops are for herbicide tolerance. Some GMOs are also made specifically for research purposes to study heredity and test the new tools of genetic engineering. The controversy around GMOs arises because many people believe that GMOs are harmful to both the environment and human health. And there is validity to their concerns. The altered genes from GMOs do have the potential to mix with the wild species of plants and damage or destroy the population of these unmodified organisms. Additionally, since GMOs are often patented biotechnology, farmers can suffer as the companies holding these patents exercise restrictive control over the distribution of their seed. However, a lot of the controversy is sparked from fears grounded in lack of knowledge about GMOs. There are many more pros to GMOs than the cons, which are often fixated upon in anti-GMO campaigns. GMOs are really beneficial to people in developing countries and can help them get the nutrition they need to be healthy. Golden rice, for example, is a GMO that helps prevent nearly 500,000 cases of childhood blindness and 2 million deaths from vitamin A deficiency by providing vitamin A-enriched rice to third world countries affected by these issues. GMOs can also reduce overall pesticide use since more targeted products can be used. A meta-analysis of GMO use found that on average, adoption of GMO crops have reduced chemical pesticide use by 37%, increased crop yields by 22%, and increased farmer profits by 68%. Also, GMOs are often more thoroughly tested than conventional crops for their impact on humans, livestock, wildlife, and the environment. The whole process takes around 7 to 10 years, and in more than 1,700 studies, no evidence has been found that GMOs have any adverse health effects. They are just as safe as non-GMOs and can really help developing countries for their nutritional benefit as well as reducing the environmental impact of farming. When talking about GMOs, it's important to mention the unacceptable actions of certain companies who create and sell GMOs. One of the most notorious companies for being damaging to farmers with their aggressive push to sell GMOs is Monsanto. This company is known for using highly restrictive technology agreements between farmers who are not always aware of what they're signing to push their product and make profit. Farmers may sign these contracts and then find themselves forced to buy Monsanto seeds year after year under harsh conditions and at prices they cannot afford. On several occasions, farmers have been sued when their crops were contaminated by Monsanto seeds from a neighboring crop, or when GMO crops from the previous year sprouted in the current year's non-GMO crop. Monsanto holds nearly 650 seed patents and 30% of the share of all biotechnology research and development. They achieve this by buying major seed companies to stifle competition, patenting genetic modifications to plant varieties, and suing small farmers. It is companies like Monsanto who give GMOs as a whole a bad name because of their tactics to make profit without regard for who they hurt in the process. GMOs are deeply connected to several areas of science, including biotechnology and genetics. As such, they can have a broad impact in these areas of science as well as in science in general. The most noticeable way GMOs have impacted science is through the contributions made to gene editing processes because of the research into GMOs. Since creating GMOs involves manipulations of their genes, more is now known about genetics due to this fact. Furthermore, the effects of changing certain aspects of the genetic code in plants is better documented now with the continuing development of GMOs. This has allowed a more complete idea of how specific genes cause change in plants, thus contributing to the general body of scientific knowledge regarding genetics. Research into GMOs have already increased understandings about genetics and have the potential for further impact on sciences in general as more becomes known about GMOs in the future. GMOs are a relatively new form of biotechnology. It is only recently that it's possible to move sections of DNA around in plants to alter them in specific and predictable ways. GMOs are the perfect gateway into exploring further biotechnology both for plants and animals, including human alteration. By looking into GMOs at the DNA level, we can learn more about DNA as a whole, as well as initiating research into other technologies. For example, the processes applied to plants to alter their characteristics may be able to be implemented for humans in the future to change traits like genetic disorders and anomalies. In supporting GMO research, a future where human DNA altering is possible draws closer as the biotechnology allowing GMO development improves. And new technologies may even be discovered as our understanding of DNA through GMOs becomes more advanced. GMOs have important societal implications for developing countries. Family farmers in these countries have already faced issues with GMOs being thrust upon them by companies like Monsanto. However, if the switch was made to GMOs in an ethical and agreed-upon manner, these farmers may have greater ease feeding and providing for their families and community as the more resilient GMO crops produce greater yields. As a result, attitudes around children may change as greater quality of food allows for higher survival rates. In first-world countries, societal impacts of GMOs may be less pronounced, but a cultural shift to embracing the biotechnology may lead to an openness for future technologies. Perhaps by integrating GMOs into as baseline an aspect of life as food, society would be more open-minded to future genetic altering in humans or to embracing frankenfoods that act as plant-based substitutes. There is concern over the effects GMOs may have on our environment. For example, GMO crops have the potential to escape the confines of GMO farms and begin growing wildly or interspersed in non-GMO fields. This could lead to destruction of wild non-GMO crops as the more resilient GMO crops take over natural growing spaces. Alternately, specific organisms can be modified to help the environment. For example, the development of a tree capable of fixing twice as much carbon as traditional trees would be extremely beneficial for the current climate. GMO technology, though it has the potential to damage wild strains of organisms, also has the potential to greatly benefit the state of the environment through current and future modified organisms. GMOs are an issue that I can connect with personally. Because I come from a farming family, I can understand the fear of farmers to embrace GMO crops, especially considering the money-grabbing tactics of companies like Monsanto. Additionally, as someone concerned with the environment, I can sympathize with those who worry GMO crops may damage our climate. However, I ultimately realize the importance of GMOs in our world, and I personally support the continued research into GMO technology. Regardless of whether you personally believe in GMOs, they will likely be crucial in the upcoming years to feed growing populations in the midst of a changing climate. We need the resilience of GMOs such as drought-resistant wheat and the nutrition aspects of crops like golden rice in order to support human existence in conditions less conducive to agriculture. The actual modified organisms are safe and necessary for our future. It's companies like Monsanto who give GMOs bad names with their tactics to gain money for their corporation. While it's important to be aware of the drawbacks of GMOs, such as the potential for GMO crops to contaminate wild forms of the plant, the positive impact GMOs can have on humanity make them an important biotechnology to support.